even after that 4-5-1 start, they kind of steadied themselves. And then you looked around and they were like 11-10-1 after that really disastrous trip to Nashville and Colorado. And people were looking around going, wow, is it time to make a major change here? And I think there were a lot of people who were on pins and needles at that point. That was late November. So we're talking about a month and a half into the season, and people weren't sure if this was going to be the group. This is going to be the coaching staff going forward. So, it's really, easy to say, yeah, well, we knew we were going to be this good. I don't think anyone, even internally, they probably believed maybe more than the folks on the outside that they could be good. But I don't think anyone probably mid to late December when they went on that first big run and it was like, okay, all right, these guys are scoring, special teams are coming around. At that time, Holtby was playing, good enough, and it looked like, okay, this is a team that could probably win this division if the other teams don't start to catch up on them.
The other thing that I wasn't prepared for was Ovi to be on the verge of 50 goals, to finish with 49, to lead the league in scoring at 33 years of age. I mean, the guy constantly surprises us. I mean, we've been ready to write him off on some level as an elite talent
Never
for
doubt
a couple
him.
years now. But you shouldn't doubt him. Talk about the kind of year he had, and what does that bode for the playoffs?
Well, I'll tell you this. I first got an inkling that he might have a good year, kind of a bounce-back year. Now, I didn't think it was going to be a 49-goal year, maybe a 40, maybe upper 30s kind of year, better than what he had last year. Over the summer, when he started putting on Instagram, he started posting some pictures of himself training back in Russia. He was training with this guy that he's worked with for a number of years, but they were like running through the forest in Moscow. I mean, like they were doing stuff different than the way he had trained before. He'd always trained for strength. He was training for endurance and for quickness and to kind of get those fast twitch muscles firing again, because that really was the problem last season when he only scored 33 goals. He simply just didn't have that burst and that little kind of extra gear you got to have in order to get to puck battles in the corner and then win them. He always had that. He's always been a very physical player, but he needed to get back to the way he was when he was younger, when he was a little lighter and a little quicker. And once he started training that way, I started getting an inkling that, okay, this might be a pretty good year for him. And then after he scored 7 goals in the first 2 games, it was like, okay, well, it's on. It was pretty obvious that he was a different player. He was a player who's in a different kind of physical condition, and that it was going to bode very well for him. He didn't play that big, heavy game that we've become used to seeing in past years. I mean, even Brooks Orpik dialed it back a little bit. There's just not that much hitting in the game anymore. It's become a skilled game, and once Ovi started to recognize that he didn't need to take himself out of position for big hits, and he just needed to focus on scoring goals in all sorts of ways. He scored them on tips. He scored, of course, he scores them from his office still, but he did find some alternate sources, some different ways to get those extra goals, and that's why he ended up with 49.
All right, so Tarik, as I mentioned, we're playing Columbus. I don't know anything about Columbus. I know we beat them 3 out of 4. The only thing I know about Columbus is that's where the horseshoe is. But I'm just looking at their stats. You got Artemi Panarin, who's their leading scorer, a Russian kid.
Panarin, he's a very good player. Yep.
And then tell me about the rest of the roster. Who are they dangerous?
They are dangerous. As you guys mentioned at the outset, the Capitals have done very well against them in recent years. This season in particular, they went 3-1 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. But they do have some dangerous pieces. As you mentioned, Panarin is a dynamic goal scorer, and that's going to be the guy that they're going to be focused on shutting down. On the back end, Zach Werenski is a very, very good defenseman, and Seth Jones is probably a cut above him in terms of his ability level. The funny thing is that's Popeye Jones' son.
Right.
I remember he played here for the Wizards.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Seth Jones is a heck of a player. He's tall.
He's tall and
defenseman? Yes, he can put the puck in the net. He does get the puck going the other way. He does rack up points. I spent a lot of my time last night working on my NHL ballot. I vote for MVP and for the Norris Trophy and some of the other awards. And I've got Seth Jones in the Norris discussion right now. People are in the Norris discussion. He's a very, very good player. But to me, guys, the X factor is Sergei Bobrovsky, their goaltender. He was the Vezina Trophy winner last year. He knows Kuznetsov and Ovechkin very, very well. He can take over a game. And we have seen here in Washington time and again, the goaltender can always be that one guy that can turn a series around. The thing the Capitals have going in their favor is he's terrible against Washington and has been for a few years. I looked up his numbers right before we came on. Career versus the Capitals, he's 7-10-4.